This is Lawrence from iosinsight.com, and today I'll demonstrate building an app from scratch to illustrate having UI navigation controllers inside UITabBarController tabs. So what we'll do is use a storyboard and the tabbed application template from Xcode to get started. So I'll create it by saying File, New, Project, and then we'll choose the tabbed application, and we'll say Next. And then I'll name it Nav in Tab, something short and simple. Next. I created in my tutorials folder. So the first thing is make this a little bigger, and we will run it. I'll choose a 6S maybe. We'll just see what we have with the template out of the box. So you've got your two view controllers, one in each tab, first and second. So what we'll be doing then is adding a navigation controller to the second tab and then another screen in that tab. And just so everything is clear, I'm going to repeat that process with a third view controller to see creating a tab from scratch. So let's stop it and we'll go to the storyboard. Just make it a little smaller so it's easier to see what's happening. So we'll drag a new view controller over, and we'll be able to navigate to this one from scene 2. So now let's get a label. Drag that over. And I'll center it vertically and horizontally. Then we'll set the text to something like I am scene 2B. That should be good. So since this will be in a navigation controller soon, let's give it a title. Over here, we'll just say scene 2B. The next step is we're going to embed the second scene, the one that came with the template, into a navigation controller. So we'll say embed in navigation controller. And the icon for the tab you can see has moved from the second view to the main controller for this tab, which is now a navigation controller. So what we want to do now is add a button to the second view controller, which is going to display our new scene 2B. So I'll put the button, let's say 30 from the bottom, and then I'll center it horizontally to fix the misplacement here in a minute. Or sorry, I'll center it horizontally and I'm going to fix the misplacement. I always like to do that. Get rid of the yellow warnings. So we've got our button, and I'll set the title of the button to Take Me to 2B Please. So now that we've got that, we want to create a seg from that button to the new scene that we created. So I'll control drag to do that, and we'll say show. And let me just move things a little here. Oops, not that one. I want to take the new scene 2B and just move it where it's kind of illustrates the workflow better. I like to do that in storyboards. So finally, well, not finally, but almost, let's go to the navigation item and we'll set the title, and that's what will show up on the screen. So we'll say scene 2. Okay, now we can run the app and we'll see what we have now. Make sure everything's working as we expected. So there we have the first and second scenes, and in the second one we've got the button where we can push another view controller, scene 2B, onto the navigation stack. So everything looks good so far. Okay, so since we started out with a second view from the template and added a scene to it, I want to add a third view controller and corresponding tab from scratch, and then add a new scene 3B to that, just to demonstrate how to add another tab that also has a navigation controller on it. So I'm going to close a few scenes just to clear up and add a bit of space. So the next step is we're going to drag a new view controller, and then we want to, we want to control drag here in a second from the tab bar controller to the new view controller, and we'll choose relationship seg view controllers, which sets this view controller to be that controller for that tab. So on this new scene, what I'll do is change define the button to be, instead of custom, I'm going to set it to the system button. I'll choose favorites. And then I don't need to provide images. So there's the button that will show up on the tab for this new scene. So I'm going to rename this second scene, which is actually the navigation controller, to be second nav, so it's not confusing. And then I'll go down to this new controller we just added, and I'll set the title to be scene 3, like we did for scene 2. Okay, so looks good. So now, kind of repeating what we did before, I'm going to drag a button over, and then I'll set the title text to be "Take me to scene," or to 3B, please. And again, we'll configure the constraints. We'll just center the button horizontally and vertically. That's easy enough. And I'll fix the misplacement again. Good. Okay, so as we did before, the next step is we want to embed our scene 3 into the navigation controller again. All right. So you can see the icon has moved again over to the navigation controller. So I'll give it a title, scene 3, nav actually. Again, just making it clear when we see all the controllers what it is. And I'm just going to move them a little bit, again, so the workflow, the storyboard is clear. So there's our navigation controller and the main controller for the scene. So now, as we did before for scene 2, we want to take another view controller over, and we're going to add a label. And we'll center it horizontally and vertically. And the text, of course, I am scene 3B. And then we will set the title as well to scene 3B. So now that we have that, we want to establish a seg from scene 3 to scene 3B. So we'll control drag from the button over to scene 3B and select the show action seg. Good. Now we should also set the title of the navigation item in scene 3. So we'll set the title. Oops, that's confusing. Better fix that up, make it scene 3. Okay, that's better. All right, everything is set up now. We have scene 3, scene 3B, so we can run it, see what we have. So there we have the first view, we have the second view in scene 2B. Now we've got our third view, and we can go to scene 3B and back to scene 3. So at this point we have independent navigation controllers and can add as many view controllers as we need in scene 2 and scene 3, and that's kind of what we've wanted to build. So I just want to move things around a little bit. I always like to keep storyboards organized, as I said, because it helps when you're dealing with projects where you have multiple members on the team. So then it makes it a little easier for someone to come in and learn the code. So in this case, I'll just move 3B up here. Thanks for watching, and for more tutorials, design tips, and demo apps, visit iosinsight.com.